what I would say is don't try to sell your product. Don't try to sell yourself. Just tell them, okay, great. You want these services? This is the price. And then walk away. That's the ability to step back or withdraw from the client after you've had a great conversation with them and you've given them an estimate. At that point, just tell them, you know, let me know when you decide to move forward. My
Yeah.
next available times are this and that. But try to stop selling yourself at that point. The first person to start talking after you've given them the estimate is the person who's going to, if you start talking more about it, you're going to lose their interest. You need to give them the space.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Sound Waves, powered by Sound Cove Labs. I'm Rob Petrosh, the founder of Sound Cove Labs here in Greenwich, Connecticut. It's great to have you with us today. Today, we are talking with United Window Cleaning and Tom Larsson in the great state of Oregon. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, you doing well? How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for joining us today. So let's start at the beginning. How did United Window Cleaning begin and what led you into the industry?
Several years ago, I had a friend of mine. He had a window cleaning company in LA, and we met. We're hanging out in Florida, and he was just talking about his business. And at the time, I was an employee, and I was doing maintenance at a private boarding school, and so I needed more income. So he basically taught me about what it takes, and I didn't really bite at first. Couple 2-3 years later, um, it became more and more necessary to make more income. So I kind of researched the whole subject of window cleaning and online, listened to a lot of podcasts or videos by like Keith Kalfas and other window cleaner pros. And then I just started doing it on the side. And then a year later, I was basically off on my own. So I started my company in 2008. And then even the COVID years, I actually had a spike in more window cleaning needed because most people were home and they noticed that their windows were dirty. So yeah, it was,
Hey, definitely. I know I definitely did during COVID because you're staring out them all day.
yeah.
What other services do you provide?
So we also clean gutters. And in Oregon, moss is a big problem. So we have a special chemical that we use to kill the moss. Without having to do any scraping or damaging the shingles. So we do a moss killer treatment or you can also call it a moss prevention treatment. And we also do pressure washing. Pressure washing isn't as common, but when someone wants their house to look good, for example, to sell their home, we'll do the whole package, pressure wash the house or the hard surfaces and curbs, clean all the windows, the screens, the tracks. We'll treat the roof hopefully as early as possible because it takes a couple of weeks for it to disappear. But yeah.
You mentioned obviously you guys do residential as your focus. Do you do B2B or commercial?
We do commercial. I will say that commercial it's not their home, so they're not as willing to invest in it. Although I do point out the fact that as a maintenance guy in the past, you have to protect your investments so that the moss doesn't destroy the shingles. And so you want longevity out of your roof. You want clean windows so you don't have buildup of hard water stuff. And pressure washing always makes it look good, keeps the businesses professional, et cetera. So, and if you have clogged gutters, then it's going to cause property damage, water damage, which they don't want to deal with. So it's a little bit more of a sell for businesses, and they tend to have more competition there. So the prices are lower. So I do mostly residential, but I do have a number of business clients that understand the importance of it and having someone competent and familiar with just doing maintenance as a priority. Yeah.
Where I live, I see plenty of advertising signs for the services you provide. I assume it's similar probably in your area. What do you think makes you stand out? Why do people pick United Window Cleaning over the next yard sign they potentially saw?
I don't compete with yard signs. People that are looking for me are looking, well, they Google me and they look at the reviews. I only have like 28 reviews or something, but they're all 5-star and they're all organic. They're like, I don't do anything to try to prompt my clients, hey, you have to leave a good review. Like that's not, it doesn't come out right and organically. And also Google has a lot of algorithms that they look at to see whether or not they are real, and then they kind of bump you down in the search phase if they see that, oh well, you're fishing for just reviews. So they respond well to those reviews. But also when they call the people in my area, they might call just one person or they might call a few, but I'm the fastest to respond and I'm the fastest to give the estimate, to go do the estimate, and then I'm also the fastest to deliver the estimate. So they'll call me. I'll try to get out there same day, talk to them, count how many windows and tracks and screens that they have. And then while I'm there, I type up the estimate in my phone. It's very fast. I send it. I say, hey, did you get it? I just sent it to you. Like, oh, really? Already? And I said, yeah, I have availability Thursday or next Monday or whatever it is. And then usually they'll look at it and, if they're like, oh, this is, little bit much, say, well, you could go through, everything's itemized, cut out whatever you don't want, and then I'll do whatever you don't want to do yourself. And then they're like, well, I actually don't want to do anything myself, so I'll just do the whole thing and jump in. And then they're like, cool, let's just do Thursday. And and sometimes they're like, oh, can you do before that? I'll say, like, well, do you have an event or do you need photos taken of your house or something? The more conversation that you can have that is outside of the prices is more important than the estimate. The estimate they can go over and they can talk it over and get other estimates. That's fine. I don't care. And I'll just say, cool. Well, just let me know when you're ready to start, or let me know when you want this done, and we'll be here. And it's pretty smooth and straightforward because you're not there for any other purpose other than servicing that client. So they don't feel weird, like, do they have to be your friend, or like there's a lot of social anxiety nowadays. But if you're just clean and to the point and helpful and informative, if they have any questions, you just answer them right away.
Yeah, good. So good service and speed, which is what we hear from a lot of the home services companies we interview and the founders. On the Let's talk a little bit about marketing. You talked about Google, the importance of people finding you that way. Obviously, reviews are super important, but overall, how are you finding new clients today outside of just Google searches and review? What's your engine to drive new business?
Well, so there's different stages. So in the beginning stages, you don't have people, like you don't have clients to call upon. So I basically I went down like the main street where all the restaurants and shops were and just passed out my business card, talked to them. I had to do that, 2, 3 times, 4 times before I got anyone to, you know, hire me. And then I used Staples. They have a thing where you could type in the different social income classes in your area, and they have like tiny little maps. You could just click on these tiny sections of your city, and I just picked the highest ones. I didn't have a lot of money for promotion, so I spent maybe $800, and that allowed for about 800 residences to get 3 mailings with 2 to 3 weeks apart. I chose 2 weeks apart because I needed work right away, but I had 3 mailings minimum because I know my marketing training and education from a long time ago is you're not going to get your first call until your third mailing to the same house in an orderly fashion. I did wind up getting 1 or 2 calls on my first or second, but it really started pouring in on my third. So that was great. Also, I joined up with the Chamber of Commerce, and they happened to have at the time they had an event called Turkey Rama, it was just like a festival type of thing, and all the businesses got to put up a 10 foot by 10 foot tent to promote your business. And I just made a little flyer, and I handed it out to everybody. I think I printed and handed out 400 some flyers, and in 2 days they were all gone. My all I told people was, I want to clean your windows, and I just handed it to them, and just I want to clean your windows. So it was a very clean, simple to digest. The purpose was there of why I'm there, and a lot of people just like, oh, you want to clean my windows? Wow, okay, great. That's yes, please. And I think it's been like 4 or 5 years after that day that I have had my most recent, like 4 or 5 years when they called me as the last person to call me off of that flyer, because I never did that flyer again. But it had like a little price list and everything in there, and a little survey of like how often do you want all these services? These are all my services. This is the price per item or square foot or whatever. So it was a smart um it was a smart flyer, but it was um That was
Yeah.
great.
What about the digital marketing side of things? Obviously, I hear a lot of, offline, which is great, but what are you doing on the digital side?
So I had a friend of mine who is a computer programmer who builds websites. And so he basically talked to me about how important it is of what format you're supposed to use and what kind of, having consistent wording so that the web browsers find similar phrases being repeated as far as search engines go. So he built me um, a landing page, not a website. So the landing page is easy because it's just one page and they just scroll down. People don't have to get confused with different buttons and places to go or whatever. And landing page was like $250 versus a website, which is 1,000 plus. So I built eventually four landing pages, one for each of my services, and they were similarly worded so that they'd always be found by the web browser. And so that was one great thing. It also allows you to click and schedule, so that's great. And then also the way that he wrote a lot of the copy was to enhance the search engine optimization naturally without having to pay for search engine optimization. That actually cost me literally $250 one time and never again for a great SEO search that pops up in Google and other places. Other than that, yeah. And then I guess now in my current phase, I have some 900 clients that I could, basically just get on the phone if I need any more work. That I'd like to automate at some point where they either get a text or an email. I'm a little bit primitive on the electronic side of things, but yeah, I don't go hungry or without work for very long, and if I do, then it allows me to work on my health. But
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think A, it's great to hear how well your business is doing. B, I do believe some automation, especially of your CRM, can save you time. And there's so many solutions out there. And that's what, this show we talk to a lot of founders about automation, and which is actually the next area I wanted to touch on with you. How do you currently manage your scheduling, dispatch, job tracking, follow-ups, and billing? Is that all still very manual, or have you added some automation on that side?
so I've tried a number of different apps. I tried going free first, which was fine. When I started, I used a program called Joist, Joist. At the time, it was free. Now it's paid, even the intro level. And then I've gone up to more of a paid version. But it allows you to write estimates and allows you to do invoicing. It allows you to get paid through their service, and it retains all of the customer base data and maybe some text or emails. I outgrew that. I tried a number of different ones that I had bad experiences with. They were very complicated. Maybe they're better for bigger companies, but just for a one man show, I just need to be able to produce that estimate super fast and hand it to the person right there. House Call Pro is what I use now, and they do all those things and then some. I can also see on a map where all my clients are, and then I could just circle certain areas. Like if I wanted to go north, for example, I could just circle all those clients and say, hey, we're running a special next week because we're in the area. You can kind of like, area target people, and which is, it's helpful for scheduling. If you're just going to be doing one area, you can kind of, cultivate that area and, maybe hit a few neighbors all in one go. But yeah, so House Call Pro is great. It is a CRM. You can do a lot with it. I'm learning more and more about it. It does connect with QuickBooks. So it's it's capable of a lot more than I know how to use. Um, I'm personally just watching YouTube videos on how to use QuickBooks and how to use House Call Pro better. And I think they have a pretty good um, help center where you can, you
Is
know,
House Call also your CRM?
yes, it's become my CRM too. So it's pretty versatile. Yeah, basically, I would like to have it a little bit smoother, and I wish that I could take the history from what I had from Joist and plug it in so that it all integrates well. But I think they've built them so that you can't just unplug out of one place and then plug it into someplace else because they don't want to lose your business.
Sometimes they
So
make it difficult. Yeah, there are ways to make things talk to each other, but sometimes they do not make it easy for business reasons, I think.
yeah,
But
So I'm
So
still paying for joists every month just so that I can retain the knowledge and the estimates and the invoicing from before.
nice. And you
Yeah.
mentioned you said one man shop. Do you, how many employees do you are you leading the charge, or you're building out a bigger team?
I am I have one helper right now. Um, I have I have employed as many as 5 people at a time. And I think I've gone through maybe 20 or 30 employees. My last official employee wandered off with a bunch of stuff. Like $2,000, $2,500 worth of, carbon fiber poles and buckets and squeegees and stuff. I've been a little bit more hesitant and less trusting of or interested in employing other people. I have a guy that's, I've known for a long time that I trust. I have no problem. I don't have trust issues. I just tend to trust too frequently. But yeah, so it stings kind of when that happens. Unfortunately, it happens sometimes.
Well, Tom, we interview a lot of founders, and hiring and training is always at the top of the challenging list. So you are not alone there. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
So, in our final minute or two here, just two questions I love to ask. First one being, in the cleaning and exterior maintenance industry, what trends are you noticing as we enter 2026 overall?
I'm educated in finance and a little bit in economy and public relations and many different areas, executive training. What I see is from these different things is the economy it's on the way up, but the amount of hesitancy and the amount of freak out on the population is also on the way up. So that those two things are fighting each other. So you find like half the country is going, oh, everything's going better and better and better every day. And some people are like, oh no, it's getting worse and worse and worse every day. So the people that are scared generally are more hesitant about spending money. And the people that are confident in the country spend more money. So I have some clients, are great. And some clients are like, oh, I can't afford it. I was like, okay, that's fine. So you just kind of have to just reassure them like, hey, I know the economy is not doing great. I will still be here for you for when you need my services. I'm not going anywhere. And that will hopefully hopefully the bigger effect, the better. But you want to reinforce that their idea of the economy is not collapsing. Like 2008, I had to leave I was building decks and porches in Georgia, and I had to uproot and move all the way to Oregon because I had a stable job working for a school, which was great. And then, so my wife and 3 kids, we all moved up here and put them through private school. So, the trends are, spend your money if you feel confident in the money type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I hear it. Typically, we hear a lot of that, what's going on with the economy and consumer confidence. So that's in line with what we've heard from some other founders as well. One piece of advice, you talked earlier about speed and honoring your word, but if you had one piece of advice for a newer owner in the space, what would it be to grow your business and succeed in this very competitive and tough space overall?
I've also done a lot of sales training, but what I would say is don't try to sell your product. Don't try to sell yourself. Just tell them, okay, great. You want these services? Great. This is the price, and then walk away. That's the ability to step back or withdraw from the client after you've had a great conversation with them and you've given them an estimate. At that point, just tell them, you know, let me know when you decide to move forward. My next available times are this and that, but try to stop selling yourself at that point. The first person to start talking after you've given them the estimate is the person who's going to lose. So if you start talking more about it, you're going to lose their interest. You need to give them the space, and there's kind of like an ebb and flow. Once you've moved forward, you need to move back so that they can naturally want to move in your direction. You create like a vacuum or a wake where they're gonna it feels like their turn to move forward and talk to you and say yes. So create that vacuum and leave them with some space and time, and then turn your attention forward, the next client, the next house, the next thing. So move forward, maybe do a follow up here and there, but just ensuring that they actually got the estimate is that's one of my biggest failures. Is I sent the estimate, but I typed the email wrong or something. Um,
Yeah.
so
Follow up.
follow up enough to just to make sure that they have it and that they're they're working on it.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, thank you so much. Please tell our audience, especially our friends in Oregon, where they can find you.
Well, I'm United Window Cleaning, Tom at UnitedWindowCleaning.com. UnitedWindowCleaning.com is my website. I'm located in McMinnville, Oregon, and I service, about a half an hour out sometimes. Occasionally I'll go to the coast because it's nice there, or the mountains because it's nice there. But, so I will drive out to do places, but it has to be worth it. So, yeah. Anyway,
Amazing. Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And we want to thank our viewers for their time today, and we'll see them on the next episode. Thanks, Tom.
great. Yeah, sure.
Bye.